Hello everyone, welcome back to Kanji Oboima show. Let's memorize kanjis. Last time we did the first 10 kanjis that appear in the Kodansha Kanji Learners course. Now let's pick up where we left off from the 11th kanji present in the same book. So this time I have modified the format a little bit where I have written the kanji and the strokes beforehand so that I can save some time, because I think the videos are just too long, and anyone who can spend that kind of time watching those videos may as well spend that time learning kanjis themselves. So I would try to make it a bit shorter, although it's a little difficult, and maybe I'll get better at it over time. But for now, please bear with me. So the first kanji for today is the 11th kanji in the book, and we will continue where we left off, both in terms of the kanji number as well as what the kanji is supposed to mean. The last kanji we did was the kanji for the number 8. So this time the first kanji we're going to do is the kanji for the number 9. The kanji itself is not very obvious. It does not connect back to the kanji for 9 in a visual sense, but like I have been saying, please try and memorize the kanjis for numbers as it is, without using any mnemonic aids, because they're fairly simple and they shouldn't be too difficult to memorize at all. Let's have a look at the onen kunyomis. The kunyomis first. So you have kokono, kokonotsu, and that's it. There is no third one. And we will look at the onyomis. Q and ku. Let's have a look at some words. So this of course is the 9th day or 9 days, and in keeping with the convention that we have seen so far, it is going to be read as kokonoka. Let's have a look at another example. So this, very similar to the words that we have been seeing for other numbers, is simply a count of small objects, or the most basic counter, and this is going to mean 9 of something. The kanji writing of this kunyomi that is given here, kokonotsu, it's the same thing basically. Let's have a look at some more words. This is of course 19 days or 19th day, and it's going to be read just like we did for the other kanjis with its onyomi. So juku nichi, it will not be q, it will be ku nichi. Jukyu nichi, I think people will understand if you say jukyu nichi, and I don't think it will be considered wrong, but most of the time you will say jukyu nichi. Please bear in mind that the Japanese people are fairly forgiving when it comes to non-Japanese speakers attempting to speak their language. They're usually just half relieved at the thought that someone can speak to them in their language without them having to struggle through English. Most of the time they will be relieved, so some minor mistakes will be forgiven. So you could say jukyu nichi also, but that is not how you learn it. So that's just one important point. The book at this point mentions other kanjis which look very similar to this. One of the kanjis it is mentioned comes a little bit later on, so we will look back at this kanji for number 9 and one other kanji which we will do next when we come across that later kanji at number 84 according to the book. So at number 84 we will look back here, but until such time let's not think about kanjis beyond that. So one other interesting thing that I would like to show you here, because we have not done such a number until now, I don't think. So please do not read it as 9 plus 9, because that's not what it is. There is not a plus sign, that's a kanji, So this is 99. This is how you will write 99. But this is 99 in words, of course, not numbers. Most of the time, even the Japanese people, in most circumstances, will use the Indo-Arabic numerals, as they are called, the standard way of writing, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. That is the Indo-Arabic numerals. They will also use Indo-Arabic numerals in most places. So most of the time you will see things like 99 when they want to write numbers, but sometimes numbers are written in words as such, and this is how you would write it in words. So this is 99. So if I was to write 99 as 99 in English, so this is basically the equivalent of that in Japanese. So this 99, you will read it as QGQ. That's 99. An interesting one that is mentioned in the book as well is this. This, even though it may appear like the 99 number, this is still considered a word, and this word means multiplication. The multiplication table, and it will be read as cuckoo. Again, an exception, because you're using the kunyomis for both of the 9 kanjis. Oops, I made a mistake there. This is not an exception. I apologize. Yeah, so you're using the onyomis there, and this is multiplication table. And like I said, this is not to be thought of as a number 99, because most of the time they will write it like this. So that's multiplication tables. Again, if you're not studying in primary school, I don't think you will come across this phrase ever. So moving on, this is the next kanji. The first thing that you may notice is that this is very similar to the kanji that we have just done, the kanji for 9. However, this kanji has nothing to do with numbers at all as such. This kanji means round, and how you can keep that meaning in mind according to the book is, if you complete the arc that this third stroke is, that is this third stroke completes, if you actually draw the entire circle. So this is what the book suggests. So that's a circle there. Another thing that I noticed when I first saw this kanji is how it kind of resembles R. If you just complete that, it becomes like an R. So that R can stand for radius or round or any of those things, or you can remember the arc method that the book suggests. And the meaning, in case it wasn't clear, is round. So that's why the mnemonic was so focused on circles, because the kanji itself means round. Let's have a look at the on and kunyomis. The first is maru, then you have marui, then you have marumeru. Oops, I forgot to add brackets. Hold on. Marumeru. And of course, the onyomi is gan. Let's have a look at some sample words. So this will be read with both onyomis ichigan to natte, and this means as one or all together. That's what that means. Now this is an interesting one. This means, or rather this is to be read as Hinomaru, and this means flag of the rising sun. Again, much like the cuckoo multiplication tables kanji, this is not something I expect most people will find very easily. Let's have a look at some other words. So this is just how they would write in kanji. The kunyomi, or one of the kunyomis for this is to be read as marui, which means circular or round or spherical. And another kunyomi, this is to be read as marumeru, which means to make round or roll up. There is one other word that is given in the book, which is marusa. Oh, I apologize. That's for the other circle kanji. My mistake. I apologize. Alright, so that's it for this kanji. Let's move on to the other one, to the next one. So this here, there's something interesting in the book here, which I have marked in a different shade of blue. So what this means is that there are two ways of writing whatever this kanji is supposed to represent. So let's have a look at what this kanji is supposed to represent first. This kanji is supposed to represent a circle, and another meaning of it is yen being the currency that we use in Japan. So it's supposed to be for both circle and yen, and this yen kanji can also be written with this kanji given here, but it is a non-standard way of writing, which means this is not the one that you will come across most often. And if in JLPT reading comprehensions or in any other passage, if you come across this way of writing it, there is a good chance that you will have some furigana for it. Furigana being the kana reading of whatever kanji is in here. There will be some kana which is basically hiragana. So you will have a hiragana reading for whatever this kanji is supposed to be. So one example would be okay, so let us say this is the kanji that's given. So you will have in very small writing, so this kana over here and this kana over here, they are what you call furigana. And it's possible that if you get a non-standard form of the kanji or a non-joyo kanji or a non-regular kanji, you will get furigana written on top of it, which will make it easier for you to understand. In JLPT especially, if you are given complicated kanji or kanjis for names or non-standard kanjis or kanjis not a part of the joyo list, you will be given both the furigana as well as the meaning to make it easier. So anyway, let's quickly move on to the on and kunyomi. So in this case, again, because we are talking about something very similar to the previous kanji, which meant round, we will have some of the same kunyomis coming up. So marui is one and maru is another. The onyomi, however, is very different. The onyomi was gan for the previous one, and for this it is n. Please bear in mind this is n, not yen. Yen being the English pronunciation of the word, you will use n only. Okay, let's move on to some words for it. So here, so this is marui, which is of course circular or round. Then this is where you will come across the other one that I mentioned, marusa. Marusa which is the noun form of this marui, which means roundness. So I hope you understood how that happened. So an e adjective, usually for an e adjective, if you remove the e at the end and add sa, it becomes a noun. So there's a bit of grammar here, maybe I'll cover it at a later point, I don't know. So to give you an example of that, if you use the word atsui, which means hot, you remove the e and you add sa, it becomes atsusa. So atsui means hot and atsusa means heat. You see how that happened? The adjective has turned into a noun. So that's basically what we have seen here. So that's what marusa is. It is the adjective form of marui, which means circular. So then marusa would be roundness. Now let's look at something a little bit different. So this is read as engurafu. Again, please bear in mind that you will not rewrite katakana back in hiragana. I am just making it so people who are used to hiragana more or who are better at hiragana will be able to read this without much difficulty. I will stop doing this eventually. I will only tell you how to write the kanji part of it and skip the kana part completely if we get words like this in the future. So this, the meaning itself is quite obvious. It means a circular graph. A circular graph, and of course we already know what a circular graph is called. It's called a pie chart. So that's what engurafu means. It means pie chart. Again, some representations of money. I'll rewrite that just to save some space. This is a pie chart. So some representations of money, because this is supposed to be the kanji for money after all. So an example is this, which is 1 yen. Then you have maybe one more. I'm not sure if you can hear the dogs howling near my house, but for some reason there's a lot of dogs howling near my house. I apologize for the noise, but it's a little difficult to avoid it. In case I end up uploading this, I am really sorry. I hope you'll be able to live with it. So this kanji here means 14 yen. Okay, let's move on to okay, before we move on, actually there's one interesting thing that the book mentions about how to remember this as being yen. So the book asks, or rather there's a very important thing that the book tells you, that being that circular shapes, like entire circles, do not usually appear in the kanji. You will have somewhat curved lines, but that's about it. There will be no circular shapes in kanji. So most of the time, even when you're representing circular objects, the kanjis themselves will be somewhat angular and they will not be circular. So in this case, the author asks you to imagine a hand. I'm drawing it here in the corner. Imagine a hand with 2 yen coins in your hand. So let's say this is your arm, let's say, and this is your fingers. It's really bad drawing. Let's say that's your thumb and those are your fingers, and there's like 2 yen coins there, so it kind of resembles that. So any circle will become a squarish shape. So that's how the author suggests that you can remember it. Yeah, if it suits you, it suits you. If it doesn't, well, you can't really help it. There's no way around it. Anyway, moving on to the next kanji. So here there's again something new that has come up. I think I briefly mentioned that there are around 21 to 2300 kanjis. The number was not a fixed number, that is, it was a range between 2100 to 2300 because there are some kanjis in this book which are marked with this symbol here in the left hand corner. That symbol representing that this is outside the list or not part of the regular kanji list. The regular list, kanjis in the regular list are called regular use kanji, which if you had to say it in Japanese is Joyo kanji. Joyo kanji. Because we have not done the kanjis for it, I am not writing it in the kanji format, but that's what that means. So the regular use kanjis, these number up to 2100. Excuse me. So these 2100 kanjis are what Japanese school children are taught, and what even those appearing for their JLPT are expected to have mastered by the end of their N1. The other 200 kanji that are there in this book happen to be these kanjis, those that are not part of the list. So you can rest assured that you will not be questioned on them in the JLPT. This is just for your information. So this is the first kanji that we are doing, which is not part of the regular list, and this kanji has a bunch of meanings, but they are all quite easy to guess. The first one being, of course, 0. Then this symbol is also used as a placeholder. So whereas in English language, when we have, let us say, fill in the blanks, the blank is literally a giant line at the bottom. So something like let's say my name is blank, and you're expected to fill the blank. So in Japanese you will have something like watashi no namae wa, and then you'll have like a giant blank, and that blank is going to be the circle, and you're expected to fill your name out in that circle. So that's what that means, placeholder. Then of course this is supposed to be the circle mark, and the last one is blank. So when you leave a blank, that's basically what I explained to you just now. When you leave a blank, you will just draw a dotted circle in that place. So those are the meanings that this particular kanji has. So let's have a look at some of the words for it. Oh, I apologize, we did not do the on and kunyomi. So the kunyomi for this is going to be 0, and the other one is going to be maru. If you notice, a lot of round and circular kanjis for that represent round or circular things have this reading maru. So I think that one reading can be pretty easy to remember. The other one is of course the word 0, but with a Japanese accent, so that becomes 0. And the onyomi for this is rei. Rei. Let's look at words really quickly. So this is a numerical representation of a particular amount of money. Like I said, in most places this is not how you will find it written. You will usually find it written in the Indo-Arabic numerals, the regular 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8 9 0. So this is just for your information in case it appears in some place. So this is actually 650 yen, and while reading it you will read it as 650 yen, like you would have read it in words, and this is how that is going to be. yen. Don't worry, you will understand where the pyaku part came from. You will come across that kanji a few slides below, so you will understand how that happened. But for now, just bear in mind that that is how that is going to be read. So in case of phone numbers, let's say a number like this. I'll take the same example as the book. Okay. Oops. So this is a phone number. This is going to be read as ni sa rei no kyu yon ni. So here the 0 is being read as rei with the respective onyomi, and this dash, the hyphen mark, is being read as no. So that's what that is. The hyphen mark is being read as no. So this is a phone number and it is 2309422. That's what that phone number is. So you can remember to note it down like this when they say it in chokai, because there's a possibility of giving you such things. So the number is going to be nisamaru no kyuyon ni. Of course, they're going to be much faster at saying this, but you will know how to take it down now. So for those who have already appeared for JLPT, actually not for JLPT but for some other kind of exams where the answer paper requires you to write things down or select some things by saying, mark the correct option or tick the correct option or something like that. In that case, you may see something like maru tsukete kudasai. So the instruction would be something like maru tsukeru. So here this thing will be read as maru, not rei. Very much in keeping with the rule that we have seen so far, that if a kanji appears with other kana, we will use its respective kunyomi. Okay, let's move to the next one. So this kanji represents a human being. I mean, normally we would represent a person like so if it was a stick figure, but if we had to reduce it further, then we would probably just reduce it to legs. That's basically what this kanji is. It's the complete simplification of a very basic stick figure of people, with the head and arms being a part of the torso up here and only the legs being shown explicitly like that. So that's how you can remember that. There are several kanjis which utilize this kanji as a component kanji, in which case it will look slightly different, but we will cover that at a later point of time. There is one kanji which is mentioned in the book as being very similar. We will cover this kanji when we do that kanji, and we will see how it appears different in typing and how it appears on computer screens when we use a Microsoft Word, Microsoft Input or something like that, and basically use kanjis on PC a lot. So let's move on to the onen kunyomis. So there's only one kunyomi, and that is hito, and there are two onyomis, the one being jin and the other being nin. So nin and jin are two of the onyomis for this. Some of the examples that you may already have come across. So for someone who has seen some of the old movies by Akira Kurosawa, especially the Seven Samurai movie, if anyone has seen that. So the Japanese name for it is Shichinin no Samurai. So there you will see the nin coming. So that is this kanji, Shichinin no Samurai. Because we've already done the kanji for 7, let's have a look at that. So that's how that will be, Shichinin no, and then you will have the kanji for samurai, and that's basically 7 samurai. So that is one place where you see nin. When it comes to jin, I am not sure there are any famous movies or anime that I can think of where I can come across with where I have come across jin, but that's okay. Anyway, that was just a piece of trivia. It was completely unnecessary, but anyway, let's move on to some words. So this, oops, so this is a Russian person. This part, of course, being read as Russia, which stands for Russia. So it's pretty easy how that works, like Russia person or Russian person. That's it, Russia person. If you have let's say Indo, which is for India, so then Indo, and then Jin, which means Indian person. So of course this is going to be read as Russia Jin. So when you're talking about people of different countries or different nationalities, the reading is going to be Jin. You will simply use the name of the country and then add Jin to it. That's it. So just like I said, Indo Jin, meaning Indian person, where Indo is how they shorten India. For example, let us say Australia, so that becomes Australia, and that becomes Australia Jin. If you're talking about Germany, it becomes Deutsche from Deutschland, and Deutsche Jin, which means a German person, and so on. So that's one example of how that works. Let's have a look at some interesting counters here. So this is the other place where we come across this concept of counters, and how we count people is a little bit interesting. So when you have this I imagine you can obviously understand what this means. It means one person. So one person is not going to be read as Ichijin or Ichinin. It is going to be read as Hitori, where Hito of course is from the Hitotsu, Futatsu, that trend. So that Hito and not the Hito of the person kanji. So please bear that in mind. So this one person is going to be read as Hitori. Similarly, two people also has a bit of a strange reading. Two people is going to be read as Futari, where again Futa being Futatsu, coming from Futatsu, instead of tsu you are just adding ri, which means people in this case. So Hitori, Futari. But after two, when you're talking about three people and on, so three people is going to be read both with both onyomis. So this is going to be Sannin. And here again an interesting one, in case you remember how they pronounce 4 in most places, you will read this as Yonin, and then for 5 Gonin, and so on. So Shichinin, you understand how that became Shichinin. So that is that's how that comes. Okay, so Hitori, Futari, and so on. In case you want, okay, let me undo the last bit. Okay, so Hitori, Futari, I will just leave that be. If you want to look at a few more counters for people, you can just carry on, Shichinin, Hachinin, Kyunin, Junin, Juichinin, and so on. It's only going to continue using the respective onyomis from that point. So then, for example, Let's see this means 20 people, and this is going to be read as Nijunin. Okay, and one more callback to something that we have done previously. So this, if you remember, this is the repeat mark. It's basically this, that's what that represents, but we will only use it with the repeat mark, and this will be read as hito, bito, which means people, And one example which the book gives is this. So this, we will just combine what we saw just above. We will read it as hitori futari, which means one or two people. Okay, let's move to the next kanji. We're almost done. I hope it hasn't taken too long, but this is the kanji for 100. And 100 does not have a kunyomi. It does not have a kunyomi. Okay, and it is read as hyaku. So this is where if you go back to the example of 650 yen, we read it as ropyaku. Let me just scroll up there. Yeah, here the ropyaku, this pyaku part is basically how you would say hyaku when it comes with 6. So when it's 600, it will become roku hyaku, but that becomes a little difficult to say, so it is shortened to ropyaku. You will learn it along with the numbers and other counters. So yeah, let's have a look at sample words for it. So this is going to be read as hyakunichi, which means 100 days, or another way of understanding this would be a long time. Another example, so this will be hyakunin, which means 100 people. Now let's have a look at the numbers that we have. So if I had to write so this of course means 600 yen. This is going to be read as ropyakuen. Okay. A mnemonic that the book suggests is to just look at this kanji sideways. So if I was to write this kanji a little differently, if I try to write it sideways, it would be like so. Kind of looks like 100, except that the 1 and the zeros, they're all connected. The 1 and the zeros are tied with a line, and the zeros themselves are touching each other. So you just look at it sideways and you can see how it means 100. Look sideways. So that's the tip from the book. Again, pretty easy. I think most of the numbers are quite easy, so you can memorize them without having to think of any mnemonics to memorize these. The numbers from 1 to 9, and of course special numbers for I think 100, 1000 and 10,000. So these are some of the numbers that you can easily memorize. So then moving on to the next one, just like I said a while ago, a few seconds ago, special kanjis are for 100, 1000. So this is 1000. This is 1000. Let's have a look at the on and kunyomi. So the kunyomi for this is chi. So if you remember, if for Naruto fans, there is a move that Sasuke does called Chidori. So where the chi is 1000, and this is the kanji that shows up on screen if you've seen the subbed version. So the Chidori meaning 1000 birds. So the chi is this 1000. Okay, and the onyomi for this is sen. Okay, that did not come out very pretty. Let me redo that. It's sen. Let's have a look at some words. So this is read as senin, 1000 people. This is of course 1000. It will be read as isen. Then you will read this as nisen. Then this is where things get interesting, and again counters have to be taken up as a special, you have to do that separately. This will be read as sanzen, which means 3000, and so on. So another example of how the pronunciation changes based on the preceding kanji. Let's have a look. So this is of course 8000 yen, that's what that means, and it's going to be pronounced as hassen en. Okay, one interesting usage is this. I apologize, I screwed up the repeat mark, hold on. I hope that's correct. I'm not sure. Okay. I always get confused really suddenly, which makes me wonder if I know what I'm talking about, in case that wasn't obvious. So this is read as chiji, which means in pieces. Oops, chiji ni, which means in pieces. And the mnemonic for this that the book mentions is the sound th that comes in the word 1000, which is very similar to the theta sound or the theta sound that comes in the Greek letter for T, and of course the 1000 also begins with a T, and you can also look at this as a stylized T. Instead of writing it like this, you're writing it like this. That's pretty similar. It's a pretty good mnemonic, I would say. But again, like I said, it's easy for us to memorize these kanjis as it is. So yeah. Okay, let's move on to the next one. Again, we can see a non-standard form, so this is just for your information. You can go ahead and ignore it completely. It's not of any significant consequence. So this again is a special number, just like we saw 100 and 1000. This kanji stands for 10,000. It also means myriad and all. So it's supposed to be like a really large number or like many. That's basically the kind of meaning. So let's have a look at a few. Oh, I apologize. Let's have a look at the on and kunyomi first. So again, just like 100, this does not have any kunyomi. It only has onyomis. Excuse me, onyomis. So the first onyomi for this is man, and the other is ban. So man and ban, these are the two onyomis for it. Let's quickly have a look at some words for this. I apologize, one of my cats has just shown up and I cannot say no to it because it's my cute little kitty. I apologize. I will try to do it next time at a time where the kitty cannot come and find me so easily. I apologize for that. So this is of course 1000 people, or all people, of course. I mean, you would of course use the same kanji when you want to write 1000 people, but generally all people is how you would understand this. So this is going to be banin or banjin. Then there is this. Actually, I have seen the book says man ichi. I'm not sure how well that expression is used, but there is an expression which is very similar, and I will just go ahead and tell you that. That's how they write it, or you could even write it in the same way as the book shows you, as this, but it is read as mangaichi. Mangaichi, which means if by any chance. An easier way to memorize this is, a 1 in a million chance. Even though the number is actually not a million and it just means myriad or many, so you can remember the 1 in a million as the close English phrase, because you get the kanji for many and one, so 1 in many or 1 in a million chance. That's what that means. Let's have a look at some numbers. So this means, of course, 110,000. So that means a million. So that's what that means, and they will read it as hyakuman, which is supposed to be a really huge amount, and you will come across conversations about money which have hyakuman coming up over and over again if you have to work with money or you use Japanese for work and you talk about money there. So there's that. So the mnemonic that the book suggests is that this stroke, the first stroke of the kanji, is actually 1, the kanji 1, and that the remaining 2 strokes kind of look like an upside down 4. So something like that, if I flip it over, 4 and 1, so that's basically, you just flip it over and it'll look like a 4. So basically 1 followed by 4 zeros. That's how you can remember that this means 10,000. So 1 plus 4 zeros and 1 plus inverted 4, which is what the kanji looks like. So that's how you memorize that. Personally, I find memorizing the kanji itself a lot easier than having to go through the mnemonic, but if it suits you, it suits you. So that's it. Now let's move to the next kanji. This kanji, again going back to something that I mentioned briefly previously during the kanji for yen, which also stands for the kanji for circle. There are no circular kanjis. There's curved kanji strokes like we have for hito or this stroke for the marui kanji, but otherwise there are no actual complete circular shapes. Instead, most circular shapes are again reduced, or the number of sides of a circle is reduced to usually 4 sides. They usually make a box out of it. So this kanji is supposed to represent mouth. It's pretty obvious. Instead of drawing a mouth like so, like if I had to draw a very basic stick figure, I'd put these as the eyes. Let's say this is the nose and then this is the mouth. So instead of drawing a circle, they have just resorted to drawing a square. That's basically it. See, this is that's how it means mouth. Now let's have a look at the on and kunyomi quickly. So the kunyomi is kuchi, and the onyomi is ko or ku. Let's have a look at some words. So this is an interesting one because it's not a very intuitive kind of meaning. So you would think this means people mouth, but it does not. The reading could be easier. It's read as jinko, but this represents population. That's what that means. So yeah, even though the kanji is people mouth, it's not people mouth. The meaning is population. It can be a little tricky, so please memorize this, or if you have any shortcut that you can come up with, please do so. Now let's have a look at something else. So you can see one mouth. It's not actually one mouth. The meaning is one mouthful. Pretty easy to understand, one mouthful. And you will not read it as ichiko. You will read it again as hitokuchi. As hitokuchi, which means a mouthful. Hitokuchi. Okay, let's have a look at some other words. So this is this komi is actually short for communication. The English word communication, like if you just stopped it at COMM and then you forgot the N and UN and then you just left the I. So communication is, what is that komi part. So kuchi komi is communication by mouth, like mouth and communication. So it means word of mouth, and I just told you how to read it. It will be read as kuchi komi. An interesting expression comes up here. So this has to be read as kuchi ni suru, which means to eat, to say, or to speak of. To those of you who are not familiar with the Japanese language, this will happen a lot, where one single expression or one single kanji expression has multiple meanings based on the context. So if it's a little confusing right now, and if it's a little overwhelming and difficult to remember, please understand that it's just part and parcel of learning the language. You're not just learning a small aspect of something. Language is so closely connected to culture, so it can be a little difficult, and learning a foreign language is Well, there are short ways of doing it, learn languages in 30 days, etc. But if you want to do it properly, it's a long journey. It takes a lot of practice. It's not so much about having talents or being able to memorize everything. It's a lot of practice and exposure and a lot of willingness that goes into it. So if you're willing to do it, keep at it, don't give up. It's okay if these are confusing. You're just trying to memorize the kanjis for now. If you have any Japanese friends, that will definitely make it easier to practice. But yes, it is difficult, and I understand that this is a little bit overwhelming. But keep at it, don't give up. It's the most important thing is that you do not give up. Okay, let's have. Okay, there is one more word actually which I forgot to do. So this is kuchi baku, which means lip sync. Which, well, I have never come across, but yeah, I imagine that kuchi baku is something you would come across if you watch a lot of J-pop or music related things in Japanese. I imagine that is where you come across this, because certainly in my work context, this is something that will never show up. So anyway, moving on to the last kanji for today. I hope I have not taken too long. Please, dear God, I hope I have not taken too long. Anyway, let's have a look at the meaning. So it's pretty obvious what this means once I tell you the meaning. So let me go ahead and tell you the meaning. The meaning is rice field. So if you've ever actually seen a rice field in your life, it very closely resembles this, where there are small sections of the farm with little channels made for water to flow, and it basically resembles this but on a really large scale. So something like this, like several upon several of those, and like really long sections of that. So that's basically how a field looks, and this is a very good representation of it. So yeah, that's what that means, rice field. Let's have a look at the on and kunyomi. The kunyomi is pretty straightforward. It's ta, that's how it's read, and the onyomi is den. It's den. So now we come across some interesting kind of word samples. So for example, you have so you must think this means rice field mouth. You could think about it like that. Taguchi, but for anyone who can recognize Taguchi, it's actually a name. It's a name. Similarly, so this is Mita, and Mita is again a name. So for those of you who are big fans of J dramas, there was a supposedly really famous drama that I couldn't manage to complete. I saw the first 5 episodes of it. It is called Kaseifu no Mita. So that Mita is this kanji, Kaseifu no Mita, meaning housekeeper Mita. If you can find it online, you could give it a watch. The Japanese is fairly simple, so for someone who has progressed at least to the N3 level, they may be able to follow much of the conversation, and it could be useful to get used to the flow of the language, as well as being useful in your chokai practice. So okay, now let's have a look at some other words. So this gasu stands for gas, the English word gas, of course. So this is going to be read as gasuden, which means a gas field. A gas field. And of course, the entire word rice field is not just ta. If you just say ta, it doesn't mean rice field, even though this kanji means rice field. The entire word for rice field is tambo. It's tambo. Tambo. Okay. I don't think this kanji requires a mnemonic. It's pretty straightforward. Uh, so yes, that completes the target of 20 kanjis. Please keep revising these kanjis on a regular basis. At least the part where you're able to recognize the particular kanji as to what it means. Remembering the on and kunyomis can be a little difficult, but we'll see how to do it as we go along. For now, just please keep revising the kanjis. There's only 20 of them. It's pretty simple, but you know it's going to become a mountain eventually. So please don't skip out on revising. Thanks a lot. Let's see you. I will see you next time, and hopefully I will be able to cover it much faster, and I will try to cover more kanji in a particular session. Thanks a lot.